Hi everybody, this is Father Warner once again, and today we continue with our study of the Gospel of Matthew. We are now in chapter 10, and we're going to look at verses 16 to 23. So we are in the second of the five great discourses of Matthew, and I am making an artificial separation in chapter 10 for the sake of our study. We are in the second of the three-part missionary discourse. The first part was the commission to mission. Now we are in the consequence of a mission, and tomorrow we will look at the courage to mission. My dear friend, the late Father Larry Pereira, always said that Christianity was not for namby-pambys. The word has more than just a nice ring to it, for it conveys a truth. It is dangerous when we propagate personal devotions to Christ over the tougher message of the gospel. Let me give you an example, and please don't get me wrong. I have no disrespect for the Feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which I celebrate with great solemnity, or for that matter, any other devotion that you may hold privately. I grew up with the devotion to the Sacred Heart and still have a devotion. But this devotion for me has always been portrayed as sweet, merciful, and sometimes even for namby-pambys. I have yet to hear on the feast day a homily that challenges us to follow the Lord's heart of justice, suffering, and mission, or one that confronts evil. Somehow, the devotion has always been presented as sweet. Now, if we are truly to follow the heart and mind of Jesus, then the road is narrow and less trodden. The Gospel of today is a fine example of what a Christian is called to. Perhaps in some parts of the world or in our country, we don't experience what is described in today's Gospel: the flogging, hatred, being put to death, and the terror of having to flee your own home. But that means one of two things. Either we don't live in that part of the world where this happens, or we don't go out in mission in our part of a very safe world. The apostles did not even need a choice. They were burning with passion for the Lord. Not only had they been given great authority, they were also given the consequences of that authority, and none of those consequences were pretty. Think about it. Would you exchange, even for a moment, the power to raise someone from the dead, which we read in verse 10, in chapter 10, verse 7, in exchange for the possibility of being flogged and put to death, which we also read in chapter 10, verse 17 and 21? I guess each one of us would respond to this quite differently, but it certainly does not sound like an appealing bargain. Matthew was reflecting the situation that the early Christians actually experienced when he wrote the Gospel around 80 to 90 AD. You see, his community was barred from attending the synagogue where the Jews went to, and that is why you will read in verse 17, he speaks of in their synagogues, them being the Jews. Historically, the Christians did have to flee their homes, which we read in verse 23. Eusebius, the historian, tells us that Christians did flee to Pella in the Decapolis, one of the 10 cities. So what Matthew penned was not some possibility, but a lived reality of the early church. The church today seems to have a certain disconnect because we are perhaps more inclined to rituals and devotions. In order to be on fire with the Word of God, to be connected to His message, and to reject a namby-pamby style of Christianity requires us to be reconnected to His Word in the sacred scriptures. You see, we glibly pass on fake news via social media without verifying the truth behind it, but are afraid to spread the truth about His Word. Perhaps that is our mission today. Pass on the good news. Stop spreading the fake news. The words of St. Jerome ring true. Love the Holy Scriptures and wisdom will love you. Love wisdom and she will keep you safe. Honor wisdom and she will embrace you. I want to thank you for joining me today in listening to this reflection. And if you liked it, I hope you have already subscribed to our channel. You can also find me on Instagram at pottypadre, or go to my blog pottypadre.com, that's pottypadre.com. And you will be quite interested to find that I have even a section on food, I have a section on travel, I have a section on faith, and a lot of articles on Christian art. God bless you.